Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Studio Pro. This video is all about two things that I really like. First is the Rodecaster Pro 2, which I just recently picked up. It is so impressive, it is so versatile, an interface, a mixer, a recorder. It's got the smart pads, it does zero latency real-time processing. It's perfect for live streaming and so much more in the home studio and beyond, but I digress. It's about that device. It's also about this microphone working with it, the RE20 by Electro Voice. Now, I love this microphone as well. I know it's not at the same level of popularity as the SM7B, but I think it should be. I think more out there should be using this. It sounds great, and I like to use it with this Rodecaster Pro 2. So later on in the video, I will share with you the custom settings that I've come up with for this mic specific to the Rodecaster, but I also need to tell you, my settings are also specific to my voice and this acoustic environment. No matter what you do with the settings and with the hardware, you can have all the same stuff. You have to treat your recording space. You have to deaden the room, so to speak. You've got to be in a place that doesn't have echoes or reverberations. Otherwise, what you're going to record is not going to sound like what I'm recording right here and right now. So that's kind of the disclaimer as I get into the settings for this microphone with the Rodecaster Pro 2. But I'm also first going to show you some of the default settings. Now, by the way, you've been hearing me entirely processed with my custom settings, and I'll share those details later. But now let me go ahead and turn the processing off, right? So we're at 53 dB on the RE20, and there is absolutely no processing right now on this microphone. Here's how it sounds. The RE20 dynamic cardioid microphone is truly an industry standard, a firm favorite for broadcasting, podcasting, and sound engineering worldwide. Okay. That's how it sounds. Here is the neutral setting that Rode has come up with. And these are basic settings, these three presets. It's depth, it's sparkle, and it's punch. There's no frequencies. There's nothing like really detailed or, advanced about it. This is all very basic. And you can see here that in this neutral setting, everything is turned up about a third of the way. Depth, sparkle, and punch. So probably low end, high end of the frequency spectrum. And then punch is probably gating and expansion mixed with some compression. It's probably all in one, but there's no real specific definition of what exactly it is. But it's on right now. Here's what it sounds like. The RE20 dynamic cardioid microphone is truly an industry standard, a firm favorite for broadcasting, podcasting, and sound engineering worldwide. Okay, I'll go ahead and take off that preset. We're back to dry and raw and unprocessed. Now let's go into Podcast Studio. Does this sound like a podcast studio to you? The RE20 dynamic cardioid microphone is truly an industry standard, a firm favorite for broadcasting, podcasting, and sound engineering worldwide. And you can see that everything here has been turned up just a little bit more. So we're at like 75%, 75%, maybe 65%, something like that. Okay, I've taken that entirely off. Here's what the mic sounds like. Dry and unprocessed. Also, by the way, there's only one switch on the RE20. It's for the low cut filter. I do not have that engaged. I'm completely flat coming out of this microphone right now. So the only other setting is the broadcast setting. Here we go with it. And this one's thick. Like you can hear it plainly right now. There's a lot of boom and there's a lot of processing to this. Depth, sparkle, and punch almost all the way up. The RE20 dynamic cardioid microphone is truly an industry standard, a firm favorite for broadcasting, podcasting, and sound engineering worldwide. Okay, and let me turn that off so you can hear what it sounds like with no processing once again. Now, before I go any further, let me just go ahead and dial in my RE20 settings. Here they are. Now, I also need to tell you this. Proper mic technique, it really does matter for the tonality of the sound. If I'm off axis, if I'm too far away, if I'm all over the microphone, it's all going to sound different. So my rule of thumb is the hang loose distance for condenser microphones. So mouth here and front of the microphone here. And it's half that distance. It's half a hang loose distance away for dynamic. So here we are. I mean, there you go. Thumb at my mouth and knuckles basically at the front of the end address of the microphone. Okay. So there we go. That all matters in knowing these settings. And I'll also tell you this. When you do make a preset, you're wondering right now, why does it say RE20 at 51 dB and why am I at 53? It's because Modifications happen, friends. I have since decided that 51 dB was even a little bit too low for where I wanted this mic, so I've been trying it lately at 53. Again, what's the difference? Negligible to a certain degree, but the small details definitely do matter here when you're coming up with these settings. But I'm at 53, not 51, but I do put in 51 as a reminder of generally where I want to be. Okay, so let's dive into these settings so you can hear them. Let me go through one by one. High pass filter is on at about 60 hertz on a 6 dB per octave slope. It's a very shallow slope. I am de-essing sibilance, sharp sounding smell and sound. You can see that when I hit those S's, it definitely kicks. You know what, de-essing here at the frequency, I'm at 5500, which I have also noticed. Usually I'm at the 6 to 6500 range. So this might be something that over time I tweak, I play with. I figure out if I like it better at 5500 or closer to 6500. But I'm at 5500 right now. The threshold is at -30. The ratio is 3.7 to 1. Attack, release, both low and no gain here on the de-esser. And again, let me go back to this. You can play with this threshold level. If it's too high, you're going to hear that it cuts out way too many of the high frequencies. You're going to sound unnatural. If it's too low, it's obviously not going to do enough. So my settings, my voice, your settings, your voice, they're always going to be different. Okay, noise gate. Let me be very quiet. I'll turn it off and on here so you can hear what's happening. Do you hear that airplane? Listen. Maybe you can barely hear it. Perfect timing for that to happen. Okay, I'll turn the gate on. Threshold at -43.2. The attack is at 2.5 milliseconds, so pretty quick. Same thing with the hold and the release at 145 and 128. The range is really the intensity of the gating and the expansion, like how much is happening here. So I've got it at 4, which I think is respectable. Watch when I turn it all the way up here. Oh, listen, let me turn it all the way off. Now you can hear that airplane, right? But watch this. Perfect time to use that example, isn't it? But you can see here that the range up that high, it works okay, but it just sounds a little bit, oh gosh, where were my settings? Was it at 4 or was it at 5? So if you ever want to go back to your settings, you just click into them again and you can quickly get back to them. So here we are. Okay, so it was at 4. All right, so there we go. Range at 4. Again, the range is the intensity of the gating and the hysteresis at 0.25. But my end goal of this is to not eliminate every single piece of room noise, which in this room shouldn't be much. There's no fans. There's nothing that makes noise. But it's to kind of just deaden down the hum, the hiss, any type of self noise from the mic. It's not to fix everything. It's just to kind of touch up a little bit, touch up the sound. Okay, compressor settings. I'm here at -18 dB on the threshold, 3.4 to 1 ratio. The attack and the release are both very quick. And the gain is at 3.4, the makeup gain, 3.4 dB. You can kind of see here this ball moving when I talk, and you want it to kind of go on the bended part. That means the actual compression is happening, but you don't necessarily want it to be slammed against the end wall, because then obviously it's slamming your compressor for all it's worth. So you can see the compressor settings there. Then we get into the EQ settings. Let me turn off the EQ so you can hear what it sounds like there. And then let me bring back the EQ. So yeah, there's just a little bit more, tonality, punch. It's got some more sparkle to it. The high bell at 9100 hertz at a 1.2 dB gain. The mid bell, I always do this cut. And this time I'm only cutting 1 dB here. But usually between 250 and 300, I always do a cut just for my voice. You can kind of see if I turn this up here, it's going to sound just a lot more boxy. And it doesn't sound, well, it does sound bad, but I've pumped it way up to exaggerate it. But I'll just take away that 1 dB like I was on the mid gain. Really, it's a low mid frequency. And then the low bell, I'm boosting at 90 hertz to 1.4 dB on the gain. Exciter, I've got that on with the big bottom at 73.9 hertz, the drive at 43% there, and then the oral exciters at 1200 hertz, and the harmonics are at 74%. So big bottom, I'm trying to get that resonance, that low resonance. You can kind of hear right there. And then the aural exciter, it's right in the middle of those speech fundamental frequencies, like 1200, basically 1000 to 5000. And I basically, you could see what it's doing here. It's kind of boosting that and harmonizing that area to really just saturate it. So I do like that sound on this mic a little bit more. Last thing here is panning. I'm not obviously doing any of that. So there you go with the RE20 settings here, custom for the Rodecaster Pro 2. And again, when you make these presets, which I highly recommend, make a preset for every mic you have. Always put in the gain amount, which, yes, it's different right now. We've already addressed that. But the way you do it is when you want to make a preset, you go into the advanced settings, you make a setting, and then you hit that advanced button one more time to exit out of it. It'll say, wait, do you want to save these settings? You say, yes, I absolutely do, so that you can use them next time and be successful like that. There you go. If you've hung around this long, I want to tell you I really appreciate it. Thumbs up on this video if it provided you entertainment or value. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel, Home Studio Pro, so that I can see you next time.